get to be on. You get to be on this morning's sunrise sessions with Jen Zoe at Zenergen. Hi, Ro. So we were just talking. We have a guest here today, and it's not just Rose. It's our friend Kimmy. She's all the way up from Kids Than Me. Haha.
Yes.
And we were just talking about parental roles and counting to 3. Did your mom ever go, don't, get in the car, little one, and 1, 2, or I'm counting to 3. When my mom said she was counting to 3, I was like, oh crap, I'm in trouble, right? Right? Did your mom ever actually, no. Did your mom ever actually get to 3?
No. She barely got to 2. I was running to wherever she needed me to get to.
Yeah, you're like, she never got to 3. Why? Why did she never get to 3?
Just the respect that I had for her, and that I was also terrified of my mother.
Yeah, a little bit. But we try to avoid the whole terrified piece. But the respect thing is absolutely true, right? So the same thing with these guys. It's like I'm requesting politely. I've made the suggestion. I'm telling you that what I'm asking you to do is the better deal for you. It's the better deal for you to come over here and have more space and enjoy your food. To come in between us and try and squeeze in and crowd our space is not a good deal for her. Because, it's not a good deal for any of us. And everything, if you've read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, everything must be a win-win circumstance. I only engage in transactions that benefit all human effects, right? And so anytime you're engaging or transacting with anyone, like you and I are having a conversation, it's a transaction. It's a verbal transaction between what is going to work for you. Because Kimmy's thinking about, coming out here and supporting the mission and being a part of what we're doing. And so she's here, and we're like, okay, well, what would make this a win for you, Kimmy? And then what would make it a win for Zenergen, right? So that's the conversation we're having this morning. So it's the same thing with these guys. And when I know, like, when my mom would count to 3, it'd be like, oh no, she ain't never. And she never went to 2.5 either. It was 1, 2, and then 3. I mean, I knew there was no 2 3/4.
No, I got the 2.5. I got the 2.5, but never the 2 3/4.
That would have been that,
endgame,
right? Oh god. But then you think about, like, my best friend in grade school, her mom counted to 5. I was like, dang girl, you got all the way to 5? I was like, whoa, you lucky bitch. Oh wait, I was only like 5. I didn't know that word yet. But I did say, wow, your mom's like pushover. That was what I thought. And it's the same thing. If your mom got to 5 and then did nothing, then what?
Then I knew she was bluffing, and then it was all for nothing.
All for nothing. She was bluffing. You can't trust her then. You couldn't actually, the trust thing comes up with that perspective. Because if she's not going to follow through with what she asked you to do.
Oh no, she followed through all right.
She did, right? Yeah, oh yeah. That was my dad. My dad was like, the worst thing we got when we were kids was, wait till your father gets home. Like, that was like the 3+.
No, it was wait till your mother gets home.
Oh, so yours was the opposite.
Mine was the opposite.
Oh my, yeah. But that's the
complete
truth,
opposite.
and that's the truth in communication. That's the truth in standing for your own truth, and it's the truth for holding yourself accountable for following through with what you promise to others, whether it be something you're going to give to them or ask of them. So that's what we do with the horses, and the more consistent, there's a C word we like to use, the more consistent you can be with following through with your promises every time you have a desire and express it. So set your intention, express your desire, make the suggestion, and follow through with your promise. Because if you can suggest to these guys that they need to do something and then you don't follow through, they're going to be like, well, they just are all talk and no walk. So that's what we do with what we've been doing with Rose. But she's, 8 years old? And I don't have my calculator in front of me, but 8 times 365 is a lot of days. And if you take 365 times 8 times 24, and I don't know if anybody wants to do the math in the comments here or anything, but that's a lot. That's a lot of hours. And if you take the number of hours I have personally spent with her since I've had her, there's not nearly as many as she has been alive. So if you really put the, tipping the scales, it's amazing how fast these horses come around to what we're trying to impart upon them and how we're trying to build a relationship to build that trust, to know that we will show up consistently. because for the last 8 years of her life, it probably wasn't that way. And we think she's about 8. She might be a little younger, she might be a little older. So, but if we went with that number, how many hours has she been alive and how many hours have I been? And I make mistakes too. Like there's days where I'm like, oh, I missed it, or I didn't follow through, or my promise wasn't clear, or I asked too much, or I didn't ask enough. I mean, that's the right there. That is one of the main core qualities of a strong leader, is knowing how much to ask of your team, your kids, your loved ones, your family, when you're actually asking something of them. Know when you're not asking enough and not challenging them, not pushing them to the potential, and letting them just be less than what they actually deserve for themselves. And then 2, following through. How fast should you follow through with your promise? Should you count to 5 in some circumstances? Nope. No. Nope. Should we count to 3? And what does if we do get to 3 or 5 or whatever that number is? What is the promise that whatever you did was going to be followed through with? Make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what do you get? What do you think?
I really like the vision. I like the mentality behind it all. It's a great concept that a lot more people should adapt to, because it's just a lot more trust gaining, a lot more, building bonds between the animals and human itself. So it's not just more like, oh, I'm commanding you to do this, and this is your reward afterwards. Like, I'm just going to drop my reins and not going to put any more pressure with the bit in your mouth, in a sense, like a lot of people tend to do. They're very mouthy with their horses in order to get them to bring that respect up. And that's just me, my past experiences with horses, especially with even just halter walking. A lot of them are very aggressive with yanking on the, lead chains and just lead lines in general.
Yeah, so it's just like literally yanking your chain. So,
basically.
and it's so true. Is this true with people too?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there is what I've discovered, and I don't know if you've discovered this as well, but it's what's the difference between horsemanship and peoplemanship? Like, there's no difference.
There's no difference at all.
None. And that's how I actually came about with the concept of Synergen, is that I went to a personal development experience, and I was like, oh my God, what I'm learning here at this seminar about people is the same thing I've learned over the last 10 years with horses. And now I've taken those 2 concepts and I said, these 2 worlds have to come together. And so what everything we know about horses and everything, and here's the truth, y'all. How little does it take? They don't call us horse whisperers for nothing. It's like, how little does it take for you to be able to build the bond, to build the trust, to establish the respect, and love them, and let them know that you love them and that they can love you. When your horse, your husband, your kids, and they're like, I was terrified of my mom. I mean, you probably love your mom, but still at the same time, it's like, wait a minute.
Very scary woman.
Yeah. I don't want my horses or anyone around me to think that I'm scary. I might be intense. You can see that about me, right? I'm like kind of, but that's the truth. So I hope this has been informative. Thanks for tuning in to this morning's Sunrise Sessions at Synergen, and I'm Jen Zoe.